Ness Owen, author of Mamiaith, correct pronunciation?
Yes, it was, yeah.
I know I got it wrong at the launch. I didn't get the extra E in, but anyway. Despite all your coaching. So tell us, from your perspective, how this book happened.
Well, I initially submitted some poems for another anthology that Arachne had a call out for, just so that they could include a lot of poets, but a few of their poems in each section. So I initially sent off for that, and well, Cherry got back to me and asked if I had a few more poems, which I initially thought, oh no, she doesn't like the ones I've sent.
This is so hilarious that was your response.
Yeah.
No.
So it's like, get some more, and then you asked for some more again, and then I got the email that I got one of my daughters to read again. If I read that right. So we asked that you'd love to publish a collection, which was fantastic, and it was such a surprise, but it's been brilliant. So thank you.
Yeah. Every time you've said that, I thought I must go back and re-look at the email I sent. How could she have misread it so thoroughly? Never mind. Yeah, so absolutely. I mean, I think you sent us 10 originally, because I was saying I'm thinking of 5 or 6 or maybe as many as 10 from each poet in a book of 5 or 6 poets, which we did eventually do, but it's not worked as a format. People don't get it. They don't understand why there's either so few or so many poets. Never mind. I was just trying to avoid doing pamphlets and having to use staples, really.
Yeah.
And I was absolutely stunned by how good your poetry is. I mean, I knew of you. I knew, you said we'd had 1 or 2 things from you for Solstice Shorts, but sometimes that's just a flash in the pan. Somebody has just sort of hit the moment or something, and these turned up, and I thought, my goodness, these are good. I want to see more. Never thinking that you'd be thinking, oh God, she hates them.
No. I must be having one of those days. It was,
Yeah.
Why am I doing this?
And what very quickly became clear was they fall into, I don't know, maybe 4 themes. There's quite a bit of sort of family and family history type poems. I mean, whether they actually are or not, I don't know, but that's how they read. One's like, I can't forget what it's called. The mowing one and the willows. Those both felt to me like they were probably family history in some way. And then there were the ones that were out and out political poems, which were absolutely fantastic. And I was, yeah, okay. And then there were the ones that were about land. And I'm saying that very loosely because, and with some caution, because I noticed that a review recently described you as a patriotic poet, and that absolutely got my hackles up. I don't know if it does yours, but patriotism is one of those Nina words. And I thought, oh, I wonder how Ness feels about that, because I don't really see it as that. I see it as just being absolutely in tune with where you're from, and that being what makes you who you are, and being able to express it, which is the difficult part. I mean, we can all go, yeah, I've got roots, but to actually be able to sort of find that down and say, it's this, and then it's this, is just stunningly clever. And then there were the ones that were about language. And I remember I emailed you and said, Ness, these are all about Welsh language. Why are they not in Welsh? Even though I kind of knew from the context what the answer was going to be, but I just thought I'd check, that you hadn't laboriously translated everything into English for me or something. and set you the challenge of, I want some of these in Welsh, because otherwise, why are we publishing them? It's weird to be publishing stuff in English about Welsh and saying what a fantastic language it is and how deeply committed you are to it in English. Just seems so weird. I think I rather frightened you with that one.
No.
How are we going to do that then?
Yes, yeah. It is, but I'm really, really glad you did. As you know, my confidence in Welsh, even though I speak more Welsh than English every day, there is quite a distance for anybody who hasn't grown up being bilingual. There is quite a distance between spoken and written Welsh, and I'd call the Welsh that I speak a very, very, well, what we call it here is a Holyhead Welsh. It's a, yeah. So it's a very spoken Welsh, and we quite naturally, where I work and where I come from, kind of mix through and go back through from Welsh to English and English to Welsh, and it's all quite a natural thing. But of course, written Welsh is quite vastly different from the Welsh
formal,
that I speak,
isn't it?
Yes, that I speak every day. And of course, I was educated from secondary school in English, so it's something that I feel that I missed out on as well. And I won't go down the road because it's a very long road, but at the time I was in secondary school, so in the 80s, I think there was a lot of mistakes made in teaching Welsh in the system that I went through. Of course, there are schools. My husband went to a Welsh speaking school, so of course his Welsh is perfect and somebody I can call on until he gets fed up. But yeah,
how does this mutate?
Yeah. And it's a funny thing, isn't it? Because when I do make a mistake, I understand that I make a mistake. I can hear it. It is a mistake, but it's not necessarily being able to correct it. And then you go down the system with any language. Then you start doubting yourself and thinking, oh, that's not quite good enough. So even though a poem would quite often start with a Welsh word or Welsh phrase, and I do put some Welsh in my English poems as well if I feel they belong. It would more or less turn to an English poem as I'm writing. So it was great. It was a big challenge, and luckily I'd already met Sian Northey, who had already offered, because she was telling me, we actually met we did some plays in the bag in a bar in Carnarvon, and she was asking me at the time, why don't you write more in Welsh? And so we had a chat, and she said, well, if ever you do write anything in Welsh, send it to me and I will have a look at it for you and tweak and give you some suggestions if needs be. So I thought, oh,
that's very handy.
I've already got somebody in mind. So it was great. But no, it was great, and I'm so glad that you asked. I really, really am. It's taken me in another direction, and
I think it lit the book up, because it became fundamental to it, which is why it ended up with the title. Yeah. For those of you who do not speak or read Welsh, Mamiaith means mother tongue. I sound so informed, don't I?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I know two other Welsh names.
Yes, yeah.
Welsh words. Cariad. And
yeah. Yeah.
My lots.
Pemble and Hapus, you know a lot probably.
Oh
as
yeah.
Well.
Yeah. Yeah. Yes, I had somebody sent me a happy birthday in Cornish last week, and I looked at it. Oh, it's Welsh. No, it's not.
No.
I could tell it wasn't, because I knew enough. I've seen it often enough now, and I thought, but it's very similar.
Yeah. Oh, there's lots of
very
similarities.
clearly the same root.
And I've actually got a Cornish great grandfather.
Okay.
Yeah. Just as a side note.
So not absolutely rooted into Innismore then.
But I suppose going far enough back, it was all. I suppose, particularly Cornwall, wasn't it? It was more kind of we've been pushed to the edge.
Yeah, absolutely. And having now been to where you live for the launch and sticking around for a week and going around and seeing it, and I was sort of going, oh, Aberfoyle, right? Yes. I know. Now I get it. Sort of spotting places that are in the poems, and yeah, it's Tribefro, isn't it? The thing about the feet.
To be honest, Tribefro is I have roots from Berfro, which there's lots and lots of stories I've heard from my grandmother.
It's a very beautiful place.
It is, and it's there's such a history to Aberfro.
Stunning place. Yeah.
It's the old court of Llywelyn. So
yes.
And before that, of course, you've got the Stone Age kind of burial ground there as well, haven't you? So it goes back far, but a lot of family history from there, and a lot of stories came. So that was the kind of the initial idea for that, but it generally came from the idea about my grandmother's feet. Yeah.
I think that's possibly my favourite poem in there, in the collection, because I just so related to that. I just thought,
she was. I mean, my grandmother brought us up. She and my grandfather lived with us as well. So, and I remember just being really quite young, and she was always looking for the perfect shoes. Because she thought that her feet would be better if she had the perfect shoes. And I remember her telling her when I was 8 that but it's your feet that hurt. Shoes aren't going to make a difference. And she stopped for a minute and she looked at me as she did and just shook her head and walked away. But she was looking.
Yes, painful feet, not fun at all. No. Tell me, what do you have a particular favourite in the book?
I think it's depending on what I'm doing. So if I'm doing a reading, sometimes I think, I actually like this one. I like to read this one. But if I look at the book as a whole, I think probably Mamiaith took the longest to write, and it was the most difficult to translate. Even though to translate straightforward literally was okay, but to get the same kind of meaning. And when I look at the two poems side by side, they do feel like more than any of the others. They feel like they have a different tone in each language, which of course, when you translate, there quite often isn't there?
But it's interesting that particular one has a different tone.
Yes. Because
it's the core of the book. I'm so glad I said, please, can we have some of them in Welsh? Because it gave me an excuse to republish Female Blackbird Sings, which I mean, because normally if something's already been published in one of our anthologies, I say don't include it in the collection. But because we then had the Welsh version, and I think probably the idea that we should be doing them in Welsh came from that originally, because when we did it live for Solstice Shorts, it was read in Welsh as well, wasn't it?
Yes.
Was it Nicholas?
Nicholas read it absolutely wonderfully. Yeah, he did. That was a real treat to hear him read it.
And so I think that had been sort of buried in the back of my brain somewhere, so that when they came up, I thought, there's no reason why they couldn't be, is there? And having absolutely no idea whether that would make it more or less sellable. But hey, I didn't really care, really. I just thought, The only thing about it was, of course, I had absolutely no way of proofing it. If there is a mistake in the Welsh, I don't know. My proofer was going through it and saying, okay, and I think particularly with Mamiaith, saying the punctuation isn't the same. I said, yeah, that's because it's not a literal translation, don't worry.
Yeah.
Because that was literally all she could do with it, was the punctuation isn't the same. But she tried.
But yeah, it wasn't either, but I have every faith in Sian as well, because of course she's a very accomplished writer and editor. And
yes, I'm very grateful for her
is,
assistance.
Yes,
it was brilliant that she was available and willing.
Gosh,
it just makes it really does for me. And you know, I really like the idea of doing the bilingual and having, here's the English, here's the Welsh, here's the Welsh, here's the English, because we made the conscious decision the Welsh was going to come first each time, didn't we?
Yeah.
Which I think was a good one, because it's just about bringing up non-Welsh speakers to say, well, hello. Yeah, we do actually live in a country in the widest possible sense. I don't know, what do I mean? I'm not sure what I mean. I don't mean country, do I? Anyway, that has more than one language. In fact, it has several more than one languages, and they're indigenous. And get on with it. You know, if you want to live in Wales, you should learn Welsh. Good luck.
It's the strangest thing when you do see on social media, which it does happen quite often, somebody will say nobody speaks it, and
nobody speaks it to you.
You know, the denial of it, or they say that that they've had an experience where they've come here and everybody's been speaking English, and all of a sudden everybody turns to Welsh when they've walked in, which as I've said, you know, I can't vouch for anybody's experience, can I? But we do speak a mix where I come from. We, you know, so we can switch. If you, I would love just to have a recording of my workplace where we just switch back and forth.
Randomly,
you know, yes.
Asked a question in Welsh, which gets answered in English. Sort of thing.
Well, but it's so natural when you do live in a bilingual society that happens.
It's been quite well received, hasn't it? We've had some nice reviews, nice endorsements, and you've been, you know, up until COVID got in our way, you've been out and about going all sorts of places, haven't you?
Yeah, it's
invitations.
Sorry, I've just missed that.
Lots of invitations.
Yes, yeah. Oh gosh, I've been really lucky with the invitations, and it's an amazing thing, isn't it, when somebody kind of messages you or comes to speak to you and just says, well, just that they really enjoyed what they'd read, or what you'd just read out, and people have been, and it's you know, I think when I read something and I really like it, I wouldn't necessarily go to or message or social media somebody, but I hope I do now.
Yes.
Because, you know, I've
realised that it's not unwelcome.
No,
You're not going, oh God, not another person telling me how wonderful I am.
Yeah, I know.
I can't bear it. Actually, it's really nice. It's really nice to be told.
It is, and it's something that you know, that I would pass on to anybody. If you like something that somebody, you know, has written or something, do tell them.
Absolutely, and if you can't find them, tell their publisher. They'll pass it on, and the publisher gets to hear about it too, which is comforting.
Yeah, and with the reviews, with the endorsements, sorry, I had some absolutely fantastic endorsements.
Yes, Mena Elflin. Her poems lash with life in language that is both luminous and exhilarating. That's practically a poem on its own.
Yeah.
At last. A poet who dares to embrace with a sense of wonder the two languages of Wales with poems that pulsate on the page. A truly magnificent debut.
Yeah. Mamiaith is lovely. I've met her as well because we did a reading in Machynlleth, and she is so supportive, you know. And she actually said that she did break a rule because she doesn't actually endorse books from people that she's not has had some prior contact with. So she said she was glad that she did take the
was prepared to read it.
Yes, yeah. But no, and a fantastic poet.
Yes, absolutely.
In both languages.
And note to people who are asked to do endorsements, the publisher then goes and reads your stuff. It's a small hint. Doors open.
Yeah.
Yeah, so is there another collection on the way? Right there.
Yeah, definitely. At some point, I thought at one point that I'd like to do a themed collection, but like you said in the beginning, I seem to have a lot of themes, and whether something would fit completely under one theme. But I do have been reading a few collections lately under a specific theme, and I've really enjoyed them. But I kind of write a lot about what is quite current in a way, so maybe I'm concentrating on one thing and then something else happens, so I'm like, oh no, I have to write about that. So but no, I'd love to complete a next collection. I mean, you know, I am writing all the time, so it's just getting them together and seeing what would work with
yes, they look
others,
alongside
really.
each other. Yeah.
Hello, I'm going to read some poems from my collection Mamiaith. And the first poem I'm going to read in Welsh and in English is the title poem Mamiaith, which means mother tongue. Mamiaith. Pwy naeth ddwyn y geiriau o geg fy mam, a'i taflu yn ôl ataf, mewn darna sy'n disgyn i'w lle yn fy mhen, ond yn gwrthod disgyn ar bapur. Fel perthynas annisgwyl yn dal ag ogla capal, yn twtio ym fy nghlust, ysgwyd ei ffen, a thrio fy wneud yn ddiarth i fy etifeddiaeth. Wirion y not, pryd nawn ni dorri'r cortyn? Sut nawn ni ddweud ein stori yn y iaith fain? Yn baglu ac ymddiheuro, da ni'n anadlu mamiaith, yn barod am chwildro, ond yn gwybod y bydd ein hysgrifen yn ein prydychu. Mamiaith, mother tongue. Stolen from my mother's mouth, thrown back to me in pieces that fit so neatly inside my head, but will not fall onto the page. Like an uninvited relation, still smelling of chapel, she tuts in my ear, shakes her head, tries to make me a stranger to what's already mine. Grandchildren of the knot. When will we break the cord? How do we tell our story in a thin language? Tongue-tied, excusing our way through, we breathe in Mamiaith, waiting to be unearthed, always knowing our pen will betray us. And the second poem I'm going to read is Laboon. So Laboon is a name for the tsunami in the Mokkan language, from the Mokkan people of Thailand, and which they also call the wave that eats people. And it's through their stories that many of them were saved and survived the 2004 tsunami. Laboon. Listen to us, immersed in water, who swim before we walk, breathe the rhythm of tides, live the smallest footprint. In our world, there is no take, no want, no mine. Our stories will save us. Listen for the absence of bird call, the silenced wind. See the smooth retreating ocean, the sand-struck boats. The wave is hungry again. Old stories tell us, run for mountains, row for deep water. Sea spirits warmed of my girl, already green with a belly full of sea. Told elders, run with her over their shoulders to bring back her breath. This is our universe. If there is no one to tell our stories, how will we prepare? This is Laboon. Thanks for listening.